Most of what you've heard about putting 2 cloves in lemon water is wrong. Not all of it. But enough that if you started doing this tomorrow morning based on what's online, you'd probably miss the part that actually matters. So today I'm going to walk you through what really happens inside your body when you drink warm clove and lemon water on an empty stomach. The actual biology. Not the version that promises clean energy in 10 minutes or glowing skin by next week. The honest version. Which, as it turns out, is more useful than the hype, because you can actually trust it. Before we go any further, one thing. I'm not a doctor, and nothing I share here replaces talking to yours. This is information, not prescription. By the end of this video, you'll know 3 things. Why this drink works at all, why the timeline most channels give you is exaggerated, and the small recipe detail that if you skip it quietly cancels most of the benefit. Clove water is old. Older than most of what's in your medicine cabinet right now. Long before pharmacies existed, women in India, in the Middle East, in parts of East Africa, were dropping a few dried buds into warm water and drinking it before breakfast. Not because they were following a wellness trend, because they had nothing else. And something surprised me when I first started reading the research on this. A lot of what those women believed about cloves turns out to be at least partly correct. Not all of it, but more than skeptics would expect. Cloves are the dried flower buds of a tropical tree called Syzygium aromaticum. Inside that small brown bud is a compound called eugenol. If you've never heard the word, that's fine. Just know this. Eugenol is one of the most studied plant compounds in the world. Researchers have looked at it for inflammation, digestion, oral health, blood sugar response, and a long list of other effects. Now, the lemon. You probably think of lemon as just vitamin C. It's more than that. It also contains citric acid flavonoids and small amounts of a compound called D-limonene, mostly in the peel and the oils. So the real question isn't whether either of these ingredients does anything. They do. The real question, and this is what almost no video gets right, is what happens when you put them together. What honestly does happen, and what doesn't. No matter what the internet says, in just a moment I'll show you the actual chemistry, the honest timeline of effects, and one mistake that almost everyone makes the first time. I'll save that one for last. Let me give you a picture. Think of the eugenol inside a clove, like a small reservoir of essential oil sealed inside a waxy little capsule. Water alone, even hot water, can only pull out a thin layer of that oil. Most of the eugenol stays trapped inside the bud. That's why people who chew dried cloves get a stronger sensation than people who just sip a weak clove tea. The compound is there. It just won't come out on its own. Lemon changes the situation. The citric acid is a mild solvent. It interacts with the cell walls of the clove and helps loosen the oils so more of the eugenol can move into the water. This isn't magic, it's basic chemistry. The same reason you squeeze lemon on fish or use vinegar in a marinade. Acid makes oils more available. There's a second layer to it. Once eugenol is in warm water with citric acid, the resulting solution is mildly acidic. That environment tends to be friendlier to certain plant compounds in your stomach, which means a portion of the eugenol may survive the first stages of digestion better than it would on its own. Now, I want to be careful. The exact bioavailability numbers, how much eugenol actually reaches your bloodstream from 1 cup of clove lemon water, those numbers are not well established in human studies. We have animal data. We have lab data. We don't have a clean human number yet. So when someone tells you absorption increases by 70%, ask them where that figure came from. Usually it came from nowhere. That matters. If this kind of straight-talking explanation is what you've been looking for, The kindest thing you can do is hit subscribe. It tells YouTube to show this to more people our age who are tired of being talked down to about their health. That's all I ask. And in just a moment, I'll get to what really happens after you drink it, minute by minute, in the real world. So you've made the drink. 2 whole cloves lightly crushed, steeped in a covered cup of warm water for 7 to 10 minutes, then half a fresh lemon squeezed in. You sip it slowly on an empty stomach. What actually happens? In the first 1 or 2 minutes, the warm liquid does what any warm liquid does. It coats the lining of your mouth and throat and starts moving into your stomach. The eugenol you can actually taste. That warming, slightly numbing sensation on the tongue. That part is real. It's the same effect that makes clove oil a traditional remedy for toothache. But here is what is not happening in the first 90 seconds. It is not lifting morning fog. It is not clearing your mind. Your brain does not work that fast on a sip of warm water. In the first 10 to 20 minutes, the citric acid and warmth gently stimulate your saliva and stomach acid. If you woke up dehydrated, which most people over 60 do without realizing it, the fluid alone helps your digestion start moving. This is a real effect, mostly hydration and warmth. The cloves contribute, but most of what you feel in the first half hour is the water doing its job. In the first 1 to 2 hours, eugenol begins to be processed by your liver. Liver enzymes break it down. Small amounts of eugenol and its metabolites circulate in your bloodstream. This is where the modest anti-inflammatory and antioxidant effects, the ones studied in research, become biologically possible. Notice the word possible. Not guaranteed, not transformative. Possible. And over time, in a body that gets this small signal day after day, those possible effects may begin to add up. Over a week of doing this consistently, what people tend to notice first is digestion. Less morning bloating. A more regular bowel movement. A cleaner feeling in the mouth before breakfast. These are not magic. They are what happens when you begin most days with warm fluid, some digestive stimulation, and a small dose of eugenol's mild antibacterial activity in the gut. Modest, real, worth doing. Over a month, some people notice their morning stiffness softens a little. Some don't. Inflammation is complicated. If you have an inflammatory diet, the other 23 hours of the day, 1 cup of clove lemon water is not going to overpower it. But if your overall habits are reasonable, and this is one more small, consistent piece, the effects of eugenol may show up as a slightly easier morning. Let me tell you about one study, because the numbers matter. In 2018, researchers in Iran ran a small trial on eugenol's effect on inflammatory markers in adults. The sample was modest, somewhere around 50 to 60 participants, depending on how the groups were counted. Half received a daily eugenol-containing supplement, half a placebo for 8 weeks. The result was a measurable reduction in one inflammation marker called CRPC reactive protein. Pay attention to 2 things about that study. First, it was not dramatic. The reduction was modest. The researchers did not claim a cure for anything. They said this compound shows promise. More research is needed. That is the language of honest science. Second, that was a concentrated supplement, not a cup of clove lemon water. The eugenol in 2 whole cloves steeped in water is much smaller than what's in a research-grade capsule. A retired teacher in Michigan named Helen, 64 years old, wrote in about her own approach. She doesn't expect a miracle from her morning cup. She expects it to be one small, good habit out of many. After 8 months of doing it, she says her mornings feel her word softer. That is the kind of language honest results usually wear. Now the recipe. Because this is where most people quietly lose the benefit and never know it. First mistake. Most people pour boiling water over the cloves and walk away. This is the most common error and the most costly. Boiling water is too hot for eugenol. Eugenol is a volatile oil, which means it evaporates with steam. If you pour boiling water over the cloves and leave the cup uncovered, a good portion of the eugenol literally rises into the air as a fragrant cloud. You can smell it across the room. That is flavor and benefit escaping instead of going into your cup. The right way. Warm water. Roughly the temperature of a comfortable cup of tea you could sip straight away, and cover the cup with a small saucer or lid while it steeps. The lid traps the volatiles. The lid is the single most overlooked piece of this entire recipe. Second mistake, using ground clove powder instead of whole dried cloves. Ground clove loses most of its essential oils within a few months of grinding, especially if the jar has been opened and reopened over time. 2 whole dried cloves contain more usable eugenol than a teaspoon of stale powder from a jar that's been in your cabinet for 2 years. So always whole, lightly crushed with the back of a spoon just before you steep them, not crushed days in advance. The moment you break the bud open, the oils start to escape. Third mistake, sweetening it. People taste the first cup, find it sharp, and reach for honey or sugar. Sugar is not just calories, it changes how your body responds in the morning. The whole point of taking this on an empty stomach is to send a calm signal to your digestion, not a glucose spike. If the taste is too strong on day 1, use only a quarter of a lemon for the first 3 days, then build up. Your taste buds adjust faster than you expect. And the lemon itself has to be fresh. Bottled lemon juice has preservatives that change the chemistry, and the vitamin C in bottled juice has usually broken down weeks before you bought it. A fresh half lemon squeezed at the moment you drink costs almost nothing and changes everything in the cup. So, whole cloves lightly crushed, warm water not boiling, covered cup, 7 minutes of steep, half a fresh lemon, no sugar. That is the entire recipe. A few notes for specific situations. If you are over 70, start with just 1 clove. Not 2. Your liver processes eugenol a little slower than it used to, and there is no benefit to overdoing it. If you take any blood-thinning medication, warfarin, clopidogrel, even high-dose daily aspirin, please talk to your doctor before starting. Eugenol may have a mild blood-thinning effect of its own, and the two together can be more than you need. If you have a history of stomach ulcers, acid reflux that flares with citrus or kidney stones, the lemon part may not be right for you. Use only a small splash of lemon or skip it entirely and drink the warm clove water alone. It still has some value, just less. And if you have diabetes, the timing matters. Take this drink at least 30 minutes before any morning medication, unless your doctor tells you otherwise. I want to be honest with you about something most channels won't say. This drink is not going to fix anything serious. If you have uncontrolled diabetes, real heart disease, severe arthritis, or any chronic condition that needs medical care, this is not a substitute. It is not a quiet layer of healing on top of your existing situation that does the work for you while you sleep. It is a small, gentle morning habit that over time may make some of your modest daily struggles slightly easier. That's all. That's the honest scope. And honestly, at this age, that's enough. Because most of what helps us now is small, repeated, and patient, not dramatic. Tomorrow morning, before your coffee, before anything else, try it once. 2 whole cloves lightly crushed. A cup of warm water not boiling. Cover it. Wait 7 minutes, Squeeze in half a fresh lemon. Sit with the cup for a moment before you drink it, and then pay attention. Not to the dramatic things you've been promised by other videos, because most of those will not happen on day one. Pay attention to the small things, the warmth in your chest, the cleaner taste in your mouth after, the way your stomach feels 20 minutes later. Those are the honest signals. Do it for 2 weeks. No pressure, no judgment. Either you'll notice something modest and useful, or you won't, and you've lost nothing but the price of a few cloves and a lemon. Before you go, answer one thing in the comments, just 1 or 2 words. What is the one thing your body is asking you for right now? More energy, less stiffness, a calmer morning, better digestion. Whatever it is, naming it is the first step. The cup is the second, tomorrow.